I hope you hear her cries as you try to sleep at night. I hope you see the tears run down her face when she asked you to go home. I hope you spend the rest of your life in fear of death. You will never hurt another child again. Judge Howard, speaking for myself, for my community, and the nation, I plead with you to accept the recommendation of the jury for death as presented to you by the jury 10-2, and a vote of 12 for 4 guilty verdicts, and to remember the words of a wise old black man in Terravis. It's just too heavy, Your Honor. It's too heavy for mercy.
It is a horrible reality.
The jury heard plenty of emotional testimony from friends and neighbors of Jessica Lunsford's family, lives ripped apart by a terrible crime. 9-year-old Jessica was abducted from her Florida bedroom, raped, murdered, and buried in plastic bags found outside a trailer where John Cooey had been living.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Chanel Beauty coming back with another video. This video is on the story that I've been wanting to cover, that has always been on my mind, has always stuck with me. It did go viral at one point, but then people just stopped talking about it. I never knew really the reason why, but I wanted to cover this story, so you guys stay tuned. First and foremost, let me just get something off my chest, and not to start it off like this, but I posted a birthday post, and saying that I was going to, post new content soon, because I wanted to post content, of course, on this case. I wanted to also go back to what I was doing as well, and that is basically like doing a hair review on this wig that I just got not too long ago for my birthday. So it was basically a birthday post that I've been posting on all platforms and got nothing but love. I noticed a couple haters in the comment section, and I had to end up reporting them and disabling the comments, because we don't allow that on this channel. So if you are pathetic in life and you living in your mom's basement, like, don't come commenting on my posts about anything negative. Like, to think that you even have a I know y'all never seen this side of me, but the audacity to think that you even have a chance with me to be able to state an opinion like that is crazy to me. Like, you got me effed up. So none of that negative stuff. If you got something negative to say about any of the content that I post, especially these cases that's very sensitive, I will immediately block you. I will immediately report you, and that's just that. Like, I don't care. And you better be glad that I don't have a lot of time on my hands, because if I do, today I kind of did, but if I do ever have time on my hands, baby, I will find you, and we'll just leave it at that. Like, do not mess with any of my peace over here, okay? I'm over here minding my business. I post my content for the people that enjoy my content, aka my subscribers, my true subscribers. And even though I don't have a lot of subscribers, that is who I post for. Like, I do not post for some random ass person that is just stumbling across my reel or video or something like that for you to state your opinion. If I wanted your opinion, I would have asked for it. So that's just that. And I just wanted to touch bases on that before, because I noticed that, and I'm just like, dang, people like literally wait for you to post for you to, for them to be negative. And it's like, if you are sad with your life, not pathetic, like, baby, that don't have nothing to do with me. So you can kill all that, okay? We it's nothing but positive and peace over here. So that part. And I'm sorry, filter wear. I'm sorry, what? I still don't look 30, and 30 is not even old, just to put that out there. But I'm sorry, what? No makeup, no filter. Exactly what are you talking about? So anyway, I'm so sorry to say that, but I just had to put that out there, because people will really try to act like and downplay like what you are as a person or what you did and stuff like that. It's like, baby, basically they were trying to say like, oh, you got all these filters and makeup and stuff like that. I'm literally barefaced right now. It's no filter on my videos. Like, what are you talking about? I still look the same. Okay, so anyway, this video is on a very personal case to me. Not personal as in like I know who the victim is or her family or anything, but it's one of those cases that has stuck with me for so long, and it's what got me kind of into like being interested in like crime and just following cases and stuff like that. So this video is about Jessica Marie Lunsford. That date is she went missing out of Homosassa, February 2005, and this story is what just stuck with me the most, and I almost feel like I personally know this story because I could tell you off the bat for the most part just like the people involved in her life, her family and stuff. Like her dad is Mark Lunsford, her grandmother is Ruth Lunsford, her grandfather is Archie Lunsford. So you know, I really invested in this story, and it's what got me into like Nancy Grace, you know, back in, because in 2005 I was like in 8th grade. Back in 8th grade is what got me into crime and just like really getting into a case and try to solve it and things like that. So to not waste any more time, let's get into the video and I can tell you guys more about the story because a lot of people do not cover this story. So it was my duty, I feel like, to do this. So you guys stay tuned. Alright, so the story is on, like I stated before, Jessica Marie Lunsford. She was 9 years old in 2005 and she went missing on February 23rd, 2005. In basically her neighborhood slash home. I remember when this story happened, like it was yesterday. It was all over. It was on Nancy Grace, it was on CNN, it was on basically any type of platform that covers cases, both locally and nationally. Like this was really a big case, which is very surprising today because a lot of people do not cover this case. Like I stated before, they kind of for some reason stay away from this case, and I feel like this particular story, they made a lot of changes in the law that helps the kids, and maybe that's why it doesn't get covered as much, because this world is so sick and they don't want those type of laws and things like that. Like laws were literally made because of this case. But like I stated, this case is from February of 2005. At that time I was like in 8th grade, and it's involving a 9-year-old girl from Homosassa, Florida. She lived with her father. She was a daddy's girl, and she lived with her grandma, Ruth Lunsford, and also her grandfather, Archie Lunsford. At the time, they were pretty, I guess you could say, like up in age, so I'm not sure honestly if they are still living, but if they are, that's a blessing. But I'm honestly not sure because this was in 2005 and they were like, I think at least in their 70s around that time. But her dad is Mark Lunsford. I believe for a fact he is still living. He basically took Jessica under his wing. Him and the mom, I'm not sure of the status of their relationship, but I know he took Jessie. That's her like nickname. And since I've been following this story for so long, I feel like she's just like my little Jessie. So yeah, he basically took her like at a very young age. Sole custody, you know. I think she's seen her mom sometimes, like, and her mom was still alive, of course, at the time, but for some reason, like I said, I don't know their relationship, but I do know that she primarily stayed with her dad. So I think he took her in around, like a toddler age, like around like 4 years old possibly. He took her in fully at a very young age, and she just became a daddy's girl. Like, they hunted. He's a big biker guy. Like, he has his motorcycle. He I don't even think he owned a car. Like, he would just get on his motorcycle. He was like a part of like a certain type of biker club and everything. So he was like a true biker, you know, and she grew up around that and just became, you know, this not necessarily tomboy, but like just like, you know, a daddy's girl or whatever. And her grandparents loved her dearly, and just that was their Jessie. Like, they just thought of her as just the world and ray of sunshine, and you know, she was just like everybody's world. You know, she was just like this cute little girl that everybody was focused on as far as the family, and just wanted to see her do the best and things like that. So they lived in a RV type of, I guess you can say, like trailer home. It wasn't like an actual like foundation built home, and it was like her dad, it was her grandma, it was her granddad that lived in this home. I'm assuming they lived there for years, probably since Jessie was younger, and they just raised her there. And it was a small town, not a lot of population and people and things going on. And the dad said, I think that's one of the main reasons he took her into custody, if I remember, because the dad have a documentary. It's called Jesse's Law, and Jesse's Law or Jesse's Dad. I think it's called Jesse's Dad. Jesse's Law is the actual law that was passed, that I will touch on pretty soon. But Jesse's Dad is his documentary that he made. I did watch that, very well put together, and he basically said that he wanted her to grow up in a small town and not in a city, and just basically, you know, grow up with the morals, I guess, that they have in a small town community. So it was one of those communities where everybody knew each other and there was nothing going on. And like, you know, if they wanted something to do, like it wasn't like a regular city type of situation. So he wanted her to grow up in those type of environments. And basically on the night of February 23rd, the dad went out. He went to see his girlfriend, and like I said it before, the dad went out, and it was a small community, and nothing happened, you know, what they would consider safe. And he went out, I believe he left the door unlocked that night, if I remember right. And he went to his girlfriend's house overnight or whatever, and Jessie stayed home with her grandfather and her grandmother. And on that night, well, let me back it up. Earlier that day, basically a guy named John Cooley, that is the suspect, he lived across the street from where Jessie lived and her family. And he was watching her like for some time, and especially like what they made it sound like the day before. He was watching her play outside and, you know, just be a kid and stuff like that. And so he wasn't staying there for long, if I remember right. He just moved in, and he moved with family, so like that was like his family home and not his actual home. I think he had like just moved in and got out of prison, and he was watching her, like, you know, for some time, and, you know, play outside and just be a kid and stuff. And so on February 23rd, he decided to, while Jessie dad was out, I'm assuming he was watching all of this, because like the timing is just too much of a coincidence. It was like he just happened to do this like the day her dad was out. Like, to me, it was given like you had no time on your hands and you was watching them and their like everyday daily move and stuff like that.
For doing this for me.
Sir, what can you tell us when you went into that bedroom? What was your first thought when you saw that empty bed?
my first thought was that maybe she just got up and went and got in bed with Grandma and Grandpa. And when I went to their bedroom door, I woke them up and I said, "Hey, is Jessie in here with you?" And they're like, "No." Well, maybe she's laying on the floor next to her bed. And so then that's when I began to, I searched her bedroom, under the bed, the closets, my room, the bathroom, bathroom being in the shower, I checked the sliding glass doors to see if they were locked. Everything was locked up. I then went to the living room and checked the living room door, and the living room door was, when I reached for the doorknob and I pulled on the door, it was open. The screen door was unlocked, and these are doors that we keep locked.
He basically went into the house, and he didn't go through the window, which makes me think that what I remember is right, that the dad left the door open because nothing really happened, in that city to where you have to like lock your doors, so to speak. So like he went in the house in the middle of the night and everybody was asleep. I think I remember the grandma testifying or in an interview saying like she kissed Jessie goodnight, and that's like something that they would normally do, put her to bed, and said goodnight and went on about her night and went to bed, and basically never seen her again, because what he ended up doing, John Huey, was he ended up coming into the house, waking Jessie up, making her get up out her bed, and taking her to his house across the street. And just like a week before, her dad and her, they basically went to like this fair. I think it was the Florida State Fair, which is very popular in my area.
And you're sure her doll is missing?
Oh yeah, we went to the state fair, and I won her a hat and a stuffed dolphin, purple dolphin, and the hat is still here, but the dolphin is gone, and that's what she was sleeping with since we've been to the fair. She would take her dolphin to bed with her.
It's a huge fair that comes around like every year. They went to this fair. The dad won a purple dolphin. It was like this really big purple dolphin that Jessie loved, and he ended up, of course, giving it to her or whatever, and she basically kept that dolphin close to her. So when John Cooley came to the house and made her, basically woke her up and made her get out her bed, I think he tried to like lie, if I remember right, and say like he was taking her somewhere because of the dad. Make her get out of the bed. She took her dolphin with her that her dad just won for her, days prior, and she took this dolphin. I'm assuming she was sleeping with it. She took this dolphin with her, and he escorted her out the house. So her dad got home the next morning, early morning. I believe it was like around like 7 a.m. Like it was like really early in the morning. He got home. He noticed Jessie's alarm clock going off, and normally around this time she had been woke up and stop her alarm clock. Her alarm clock was still going off. I'm guessing the grandparents were still asleep and they didn't hear it. But since he was just coming home, like he heard the alarm, so he went in her room to see what was going on. He noticed she wasn't in the room, and so he went basically calling for her, to see what she was. And then when he didn't hear her responding back, he went to the grandparents, and was where's Jessie? I can't find her, and her alarm was just going off nonstop. So they began trying to look for Jessie. They went outside and all types of stuff, and where would she be type of situation and scenarios, and just trying to find, of course, their daughter and granddaughter, that they absolutely adore. That was their baby, it seems as though they just lived for her and lived for her best interests and just, you know, whatever is best for Jesse. Like, that's just honestly seemed like what it was with them. Like, they just honestly just dawned on her, and it was just like Jesse's world type of thing, you know? So they went like looking for her outside, couldn't find her, and then eventually, of course, they called, you know, for someone to report a missing persons alert. And they reported this missing persons alert, and I want to say, like I said, this was back in 2005, so it's probably true, because I think it was like pretty common for this type of stuff to happen, as far as them like responding quick. I want to say like it got on this story like really quick. Like, they didn't wait for 24 hours to pass type of situation or anything. Like, they jumped right on it, and it became a big story very quickly, because I want to say, like, when I first heard about the story, like, of course, because I'm from Florida, like, local stations, and then eventually, like, Nancy Grace, it was like she was missing for only, like, maybe a day or two, and, like, it was already, like, national, you know. So they called for help, and it just became this big story. And eventually, like I said, like, people like CNN, Nancy Grace, HLN, like, all these people started to get in, you know, a hold of the story. And her father at first, like I said, he was a biker. I think he may be still a biker, but he was a biker and stuff, very, what people consider, like, I guess, hard around the edges or whatever. He wasn't built for, like, press, you know what I'm saying? So, like, the first couple of days when you see him, he was, you know, in his biker outfit, he had on his bandana, like, he was clearly and understandably upset about, you know, his daughter being missing.
Mr. Lunsford, is there anything else you want to say tonight?
I just want to keep asking that everybody please help. I can't get her back if you don't help. And I mean, there's somebody out there that knows something. And if you don't tell anybody, then you're just making my chances smaller. I have to have your help.
And he was just, you know, who he was as a person at that time. And he was really strong too. Like, he will always, you know, that was basically a big staple in the whole searching for her and trying to figure out what was going on, and also just the whole case, trial, and everything like that. So, to make a long story short, John Cooey, her neighbor, and I just also recently found that he actually worked at her school as well. He basically been watching her, you know, just be a kid, play outside and stuff like that. Decided to adopt her. It just happened to be, you know, I'm just allegedly speaking that he was watching them, but it just happened to be on the day or night her dad went away to, you know, just spend time and go out and just be young and stuff, because he wasn't an older person, like, he was just living his life or whatever. He just decided to take her out of her room. Like I said, she, on the way out, brought her stuffed animal that her dad got like days before. It was a purple dolphin, and he abducted her and took her literally across the street to another trailer home. He kept her there for at least 3 days, and with everything going on outside, because when I tell you that the story hit big when it happened, it hit big. Like, from Homosassa, you know, I think I'm about at least, from Homosassa, I think I'm about at least a good 40 minutes to an hour, like, and it hit even over here very quickly. Like, it was fresh when she went missing and things like that. So outside of her home, you know, if I couldn't try to add, like, you know, videos or pictures of like how the traffic was around her home, like, as far as like law enforcement, and just all types of detectives and things like that, and forces, they were heavy around her home when she first went missing. Like, they were not playing about Jessica. And like I said, I think it was like very early on. Like, they didn't tell him, you know, wait 24 hours, as far as I know, allegedly, you know, to file a missing persons report. Like, it was just like, you know, my daughter, it seemed like this at least. My daughter went missing, and they were like on it, like white on rice. Like, they were on it quick. And Nancy Grace picked it up. She pretty much was following the story day to day, hour by hour, you know, minute by minute, and following this to just see like where was Jessie. All along, she was right across the street with this sick individual, and he like basically kept her in a closet of his room, because like I said, he was living with because like I said, he was living with family members. So this wasn't his home that he owned or anything like that. He was just a random family member living in that house, and he kept her in his room, in his closet, and will bring her out, you know, here and there for unspeakable things, and will put her back in the closet and feed her. I think they said from her autopsy, like her last meal within, you know, of course, like a day or two, it was like a cheeseburger or something like that. Like, I remember this story so well. For the most part, it's half stuck with me all these years, and it's just like, I just almost feel like I personally know her dad, her grandparents, and stuff like that. Like, that's how much this story has really stuck with me. And it really did get me into crime, because I was in 8th grade when this story happened, and I just remember just being so invested into finding her. And I was in 8th grade, so that means I was like, what, how old are you when you're in 8th grade? You probably like, I couldn't be no older than like 12, 13. You know, forgive me if my math is wrong, but she was 9, so it's like not that far off. I remember being like a little afraid, you know, that something would happen to me, or something could happen to me, or my sister. My sister was like a year older than me, and I just remember like really following this case. And after that, like, I pretty much stuck to this case, like, not to this case, but also stuck to just like crime after that. And then I think right after she went missing, I probably won't do an actual video on this, because I just feel like so many people know about it. But I feel like it was like Jessie's story, and then it was like Natalie Holloway, if you guys know that story, and then it was like Lacey Peterson. Like, those 3 were like really big around the time that I really got into crime. And I remember following each story like nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went to like watching like Nickelodeon, to like watching Nancy Grace at 8, and you know, HLN, and what other show? My favorite show is Forensic Files, so I probably was watching like Forensic Files around that time. I was watching just all types of stuff. So yeah, so the Jessica Lunsford case was really big. Her dad was a staple in her case. He stuck to his guns and just really just, you know, made sure that his daughter got justice. They were looking for her for a couple of days. So I remember like them looking for her for a couple of weeks. She went missing on February 23rd, and she wasn't found until March 19th. And from what was kind of basically told and what I remember, it's not much on, like, you can find pieces of the trial online, but not in whole. And honestly, with me doing my searches and stuff, I couldn't find a trial in whole, but I do remember pieces of the trial when it was actually happening, if that makes sense. Like when they were actually showing, like, you know, majority of the trial and stuff. But basically, like, she wasn't found until almost like a month later. It was like March 19th. He kept her in the closet like a freaking captive, you know, for all that time. Fed her, kept her alive for at least like 3 days while all of this stuff was going on outside, because like I said, they didn't waste no time looking for her. So like all the cops, the dogs, helicopters, all this stuff was going on outside, and she was literally right across the street from her house. And they did go door to door, you know, asking and questioning each neighbor and stuff like that. But they, as far as I remember, they never actually went inside to like do a full thorough search on each home. So like they knocked on the door literally where she was, and they just kind of like asked questions, but they never went inside.
Cooey told investigators he kept Jessica in a closet in his mobile home for several days before burying her alive in a shallow grave in the yard outside of his trailer. Cooey lived nearby. Deputies made 4 visits to his trailer, but never asked to go inside.
Had they did that, like, they would have found Jessie, and they never went inside the home. So she was held there until about March 19th, and then they went to, you know, just doing their investigation. And after that, they basically realized, like, okay, we have this ex-offender stand on the street. We need to do a little thorough search. So they basically was like searching around. I think they brought him in. I think they brought him in to question him, and then he finally like kind of cracked and was like, you know, basically like he did do something. Because I want to say, like I said, it's not a lot on the case, and maybe that's why it's not covered so much, but from what I remember, I want to say like he cracked and like basically was like, yeah, like I did it. And then he basically kind of told them where she was, and so they went digging, which was like next to the trailer he was living in, across the street from her home. And when they went digging, they eventually found her, and he basically told them that he made her get into 2 trash bags, like stuff into one trash bag and put one over her head, and he dug a hole for her. And this is just so sad. He dug a hole for her, and he made her get into the hole, and he basically buried her alive. And they knew she was alive at the time. I mean, because what he told, and also from evidence stating that like 2 of her fingers was sticking out of the trash bag, which meant like she tried to somewhat get out of the trash bag. And she was buried with her stuffed dolphin, and she died there right across the street from her home. All that searching they did around the city and county and stuff like that, like she was literally right across the street. Her dad did countless of interviews, you know, just trying to find her, and little did they know she was like literally right there. And in 2005, like, of course people was going missing, kids was going missing, things was happening, but I feel like because we didn't know certain things that we know now, like a lot of people just didn't think to like do more of a thorough search. I don't know, but the police county did not do as good of a job as they could have. And at one point, like a couple years later after, you know, her death, like the dad ended up suing like that county sheriff's office for just the lack of work that he felt like they did. And he was arrested. John Cooey was arrested. He was sentenced to, I believe it was life. And like I said, I would try to put in like, you know, videos and pictures and stuff. He was basically sentenced to life. He was I don't know if he was on death row, but he was in prison when he ended up passing away. He died off of anal cancer, and I just feel like that's just the biggest karma that a pedophile could get.
Court sentences you, John Evander Cooey, to death.
The state of Florida never got the chance to execute Cooey. He died Wednesday of natural causes at a hospital. A Department of Corrections spokeswoman says Cooey had been ill for some time. The 51-year-old was sentenced to death in 2007 for kidnapping 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford from her bedroom in 2005 and raping and murdering her.
He died of anal cancer. The cops spoke about it, and they basically was like, you know, he got what he deserved, because they sure that wasn't an easy death, and that was very painful. So he basically ended up like dying in jail or the hospital, but he was like still in jail, you know. And he died, I want to say he died around like 2012, so a couple years after he killed her. They found, at the time of the trial, blood and semen stains on the mattress that was in his room, and he did confess of kidnapping her and, you know, watching her the day before kidnapping her, keeping her in the closet, sexually assaulting her, and feeding her for at least two days, keeping her in the closet alive, and like feeding her and, you know, assaulting her during that time. And then he freaked out and just basically killed her when he seen all of this stuff that was going on around the neighborhood for looking for her. He freaked out and killed her. So just the thought that, it always stuck with me, that she could have like been watching herself on the news, you know, watching her family on the news, you know, looking for her, hearing things outside, like when they knocked on the door and was asking questions. What if the police came inside? Like, just the fact that help was right there and she couldn't get help. And I remember him saying for a fact that like she was really like non-aggressive. Like when he came and got her out the room, she just kind of got up and went with him. When he told her to get in the bath or just to stay quiet in this closet, like she did that. Like, and that just makes me so sad, because it's like she was just such an angel and she just did everything she was told. She was a 9-year-old, like, you know, and she was still killed and assaulted. And basically killed for no reason, and like they fought so hard, her family, for justice, even when he was still alive. And there was a law passed that's called Jesse's Law, and it basically, I can read it off because I have my notes. He went to Tallahassee, Florida, and he went to many other states too. Some passed the law, some didn't. I want to say he went to Texas and they didn't pass the law. The documentary really went into detail about it. It's called Jesse's Dad, and the law is called Jesse's Law. It basically will give a pedophile 25 years to life for lewd and lascivious N-word, and of a child under 12 years old. And then it says also all S offenders are supposed to be tracked and get released from prison or charged after Jesse's Law was written passed. It says schools have to do background checks on everybody, because like I said, I just recently found this out. He actually worked at her school. I think he was like a like a maintenance person, or the person that I can't think of the name, that cleans like restrooms and stuff like that. He was like basically one of those type of people. And it says that the public must be notified when a sex offender moves into the area. So yeah, so anytime you see, you know, things about, you know, sex offenders living in the neighborhood, and just things like that, like that's because of this case, like especially in Florida. It just really, if you haven't realized it, it's really stuck with me. And it's just like I said, these cases sometimes it's sometimes triggering and stuff like that, but I feel like I need to say something about these cases because a lot of people don't cover them. But he went state to state, you know, he passed laws, and the reason I mentioned how he showed up on interviews in the beginning of the video is because he once he really started to go out and really make a difference for his daughter's death, basically, his whole demeanor and everything changed. Like, he would be in suits, he had his hair, because he had long hair, he had his hair like slicked back, you know, his hair was no longer like falling in his face. He no longer wore like biker clothes, even though that's who he was true at heart. He just presented himself in a different light so that, you know, Congress and everything like that would take him serious, and he was able to pass laws for Jesse. So like, unfortunately, his daughter had to, you know, die to get these type of laws, but they were placed after her death because of the type of situation that happened to her. And like I said, her killer ended up, you know, getting sentenced to basically life, but he ended up dying before his term, and he died of anal cancer. And it's just like, it has to be a certain place in hell for people like that. And your death wasn't easy, I'm sure, and now it's at a forever death. Like, that's how I look at it. But this story has always stuck with me. I hope I told it right and wasn't like all over the place. But this is about Jessica Marie Lunsford. And you guys, tell me if, because I was a big Laguna Beach fan, tell me if this Precious girl do not look like a younger version of Jessica from Laguna Beach. I will try to put her picture next to me, but she always reminded me of Jessica, and they have the same name, so it's so creepy, of Jessica from Laguna Beach. And I always was like, wow, if she was able to you know, grow up, she would look just like her. Like, I always thought that. But this is about Jessica Marie Lunsford out of Homosassa, Florida. Her dad is Mark Lunsford. I believe he still does you know, work and do tours and stuff like that. It's you know, going around telling his daughter's story. He is definitely the ultimate dad, and she was definitely a daddy's girl. He absolutely loved his daughter, and you could tell he would just do anything to make sure that at least his daughter did not die in vain and other kids is not hurt. It's some other stuff going on with her other family members I will not touch on, but because I feel like that has nothing to do with Jesse. It has nothing to even do with the father. Like, he's doing all he can, and that's just what it is. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's your girl Chanel Beauty. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with your family, your friends, and your boo thing. And I will catch y'all in the next video.